Hey, this is Sasha Evdukov, and thanks for joining me here at TradersFly.com, where I share with you insight about trading, investing, and the stock market. Now, in this video, what I'd like to do is share with you something a little bit different. It's really about sharing my personal story. But the purpose or the reason behind sharing my story is a little bit different than why most people share their stories. For me, the point in sharing this story with you is really to share with you and show you that there's multiple paths, multiple ways, multiple directions that you can get to trading, to get to your end goal, to get to the goal that you want to get to. There's multiple levels to your life, and you don't need to take the same approach that I've taken to get to where I'm at, to get to where you want to be, to get to your goals. Because I know that, especially nowadays, there's a lot of these podcasting interviews or people that you start listening to that, hey, this is the path I took. And then you start wondering, do I need to take this same path or approach? Do I need to take this and do that to get to my destination? Well, I want to break this myth down a little bit and to share with you some of my journey and my struggles, so that way you can really just understand that you don't have to take the same approach as everybody else. In your life, just like in my life, there's multiple levels to it. And all these things lead to you in a certain path or directions. They continue to move you forward. For some people, forward is this way, and it moves them forward over here. For other people, their vision of forward is this way, so it continues to move you in this direction. Whatever your vision is, look at your life. There's multiple levels and multiple stages to it. There's multiple areas that eventually lead you in this path or direction. Now, the end result, of course, if you want to get to a certain destination, if you want to get to this one point over here, the best approach is to do it in a straight line. This, of course, is ideal because the quickest distance between 2 points is a straight line. However, that isn't always realistic. So we end up veering from one direction to the other, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to share with you my story, and maybe you get some insight about how it is that you can apply some of the experiences that you have, because the experiences that you have are not the experiences that I have. And you may have some really great strengths that you can use in your personal life to benefit you, whether that's in trading, whether that's in building a business. You know, all these different things that you can use to propel you forward. Whether you stick to trading or whether you don't, there's multiple levels to your life that you can use to your benefit to propel you and move you forward, whether it's this direction, whether it's this direction, and start looking at all those areas of your life, and don't get wrapped up into all those interviews and start thinking, oh, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Look at the assets that you have available already, the skill sets, the experiences, and start implementing things quickly. And you'll find that some of the things that I share through my journey here real quickly is that one of the reasons that allowed me to jump from one thing to the next thing to the next thing was because I was implementing things very fast and very quick. It's one of the reasons why I've written a handful of books. It's one of the reasons why I've created a handful of video courses, because I just go out and just do it. Go out and execute. That's kind of my goal. I know I'm probably not the fastest executor out there. There's probably people that do it a lot better than I do it, but I just want to share it the way that I do it and my journey, my path, so you get some insight for yourself on how is it that you can proceed and move forward. So to really explain the concept and how to show you how to look at things multidimensionally and how they personally apply to your personal life, I'm going to illustrate my life right here and my path at how I got into trading, investing, and sharing ideas and insights now online by video, creating books, and training courses. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to use this board, and maybe it'll give you some insight to your own personal life and how it's moving throughout time. So my journey begins really in Russia, and this is where I was born. So from Russia, when my mom got remarried, we then moved to the United States. Now this happened when I was right around 7 years old. Now from there, a few years later go by, and then I get my first computer. This was right when I was around 10 years old. So after that, this is where things start to move and accelerate. This is how things start to progress throughout my life. You'll start to really see how this all evolves here. So basically, as you start moving through your life, there's multiple levels and stems that happen. So when you're a kid, you start trying new things. Okay, you might try hockey, soccer, football, baseball, tennis. And for me, I tried a lot of those things, mostly tennis, mostly hockey, but more importantly, the martial arts. So I got involved in the martial arts, and by this time I was already doing it for about a year or so. And at the same time, when I was working the computer, of course I did the kid things, playing games and so forth, but later eventually it led me to doing graphic design. So what I did was actually sell logos on eBay. I sold those digital goods at the time when you still could sell those digital goods. So I was doing logos, I was doing stationaries, I was doing a lot of business cards, just doing a lot of design work. And from there, that's where things continued to stem and they continue to progress. With the martial arts, I went ahead and started doing more assisting. With the graphic design, I started getting more into websites and web design. Now, during this time, I met one of my friend's parents who was in the diamond industry. So he did a lot of diamond investing, diamond selling, and we created websites for him, and I created blogs as well in that industry. Now, all these things continued to move forward. Okay, the assisting allowed me to later, after college, get actually my own dojo, because it was either my instructor retiring and closing down the dojo or someone takes it over. So I took over the dojo, right around, I would say by the time I was 23 years old, I took over a dojo and did teaching and personal teaching right away for a few years over there. And here at the same time when I was doing web design and blogs and businesses as I was going through college, what I ended up doing as during college and slightly after is I did photo and videography for weddings. And in part, this was because we had another mutual family friend who was in the wedding industry, and web design, designing, all this creative work was something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed connecting with people, and it allowed me to go outside from the computer area and meet and greet people. So I started doing photo, video, and over here I was doing a lot of teaching. So you can slowly see how this is starting to move and work together and start to really compose kind of what it is that I'm doing today. Now, to really understand how the stock market plays a role into all of this, we need to take a step back and take a look at when I got my computer. So at the time when we moved, my mom, she actually became a healthcare nurse. Over in Russia, she was an ophthalmologist, so she did a lot of medical work there, but a lot of things in the US were very different, especially the medicine, a lot of the bureaucracy that goes on here, the terms and all the licensings, a lot of them do not transfer over, or at least they didn't for her. So over here, she became a private healthcare nurse. And then when she visited these patients, let's say 2 or 3 years later, after a short little while, a lot of them would talk. What would they talk about? Well, they talk about the stock market, or they talk about their investments. So this is where she really got interested in the market, was right around this time. And me over here, getting my first computer, starting to do graphic design, I had the tech savviness, but she was interested in there. So what happened was she actually ended up doing a lot of the choosing or the stock picking, and then I would actually be the executor. I would execute the trades for her. So during this time, a lot of the things that we did was just day trading based. It was very quick. There wasn't a lot of patience, no strategy really involved. It was more of let's look at on the TV what's going on, what's moving, buying it, selling it later, selling it a few days later. And we started really lightly. I would say probably with less than $3,000 to get things moving. Eventually those things grew. So after I became 16, 17, 18 years old, and as I started to evolve my web business and web design business, I started to have my own money. So when I had my own money, now I was able to have some spare cash, and I wanted to also trade and invest. So what I did was actually I gave my mom some money and said, hey, can I trade this money, or can I use this money in your account? Because I wasn't 18 at the time to have my own account. So what I did was I just traded under her account with my money. Now, this eventually led to a lot of problems, a lot of issues with trading over time, because I still didn't know what the heck I was doing. And, it continued to move me forward. Okay, so I continued to learn and evolve in that stock market. So I continued to progress. And that's where later, eventually, I had a major loss of, I believe it was $16,000 or so. And that was in a biotech. And of course, biotechs, now that I know, are crazy, wild, and they move around ridiculously. So you definitely want to stay away from biotechs if you're brand new. But at the time, for me, this was a very large loss. It was very emotional, and there was a lot of problems that went along with that, because this was part of my business. All these funds, all this money was part of my business. Now, fortunately for me, all these blogs, all these websites that I was building at the time were growing. They were mine. And later, I sold a large portion of this web business. I sold a large portion of the blogs for a good amount of money. And once I was able to sell that for a large nest egg right there, then I went back and I continued to study the markets over this whole time period. I continued to learn, continued to study. What is it that I did wrong? What is it that I'm struggling with? Where are the problems at? And then I took that money and I put it back into the stock market and continued to learn my butt off. I continued to study. It was during college. It was while I was teaching at the dojo. It was while I was doing photos and videos. I was definitely just educating myself as best as I could for probably, from this time span, right around here, this was probably around 14 years old, continued to study and educate just for that next 7 to 10 years to put things into perspective, to get an understanding of what's going on, what's happening. And of course, for me, there was no mentorship. The learning curve was slow. And at the time here, we were on dial-up, so there wasn't YouTube back then. There wasn't all these people posting free videos and education. A lot of the things that I got from education was either books was the first thing. The second thing was basically eBay. I purchased a lot of courses from there, and that's where I got most of my knowledge, and then the Hard Knocks experience. So for me to move from these stages, from graphic design to web design to photos, all of that was quick, okay? I had a computer, I said, let me do some graphics. I learned some graphics, I posted a price, I went ahead, I started selling those services, got a little bit of money, continued. So it's kind of like a snowball effect that continues to roll and roll and roll down the mountain. Then I did web design. Then from web design, I said, well, why don't I just get a camera and I created a website, let me do some photography and videography. So I continued to do all these things to where eventually, we sold a lot of the business here. I sold a bunch of the blogs. And, one of those years, right before I think it was around 24 or so, I made that year about $100,000 between selling the different blogs, between some of the businesses, and it allowed me to put all that money back into the stock market, into trading, and into investing. And it's all a process. This whole thing is a process. And I'm sure for you in your life, you also have a process. You have multiple things that you're doing. So the teaching now, really from the dojo and the martial arts, allowed me, and it now stems into this direction where now I teach online because I like teaching. I enjoy teaching. It's something I'm good at. It's something that I enjoy. I enjoy the connection. The stock market, the same thing. It's something that I started years ago, and I'm still enjoying that challenge, the way to push yourself, to mentally continue to grow, to continue to train yourself. So again, all these things continue to move forward. And again, the website. Now, of course, I actually have a team that helps me out with the web design and a lot of the design work just because I don't have the time or the luxury of the time. So I have a lot of people that actually help me out running and managing the website. I still will answer the emails, But a lot of the people that run my website, do my website, it saves me time, but all of this, the website, the teaching online, really works together to create what it is that I'm doing now. So I hope this really allowed you to see how things move in multi-dimensions. So over here, here's dimension 1, here's dimension 2, the martial arts, the graphic design, and my mom. All of this works together to get to this end goal, to get to this destination. It wasn't a direct path from, the computer all the way to stock trading. All these things work together, and it didn't take me 3 or 4 days to get there. It was 7 to 10 years to really start trading, a little more consistently, to really start understanding how charts work, to really understand how volume works, to really be aware of myself, because that's one of the hardest things, is just seeing yourself and being aware of, hey, what's going on? What's happening? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that's just part of growing, part of being more mature and evolving. So as you personally evolve and being aware and being honest with yourself, you'll also evolve in the market, and you'll also evolve in trading, because the market is really just a reaction of how it is that you're progressing. If you're having losses, if you're not emotionally disciplined, if you're not focused, then there's things that you personally need to work on. But the point behind this whole story, the whole point behind this lesson was really to share with you that there's multiple dimensions. There's multiple areas, and the same thing for you. You'll have multiple areas that go through in your life that get you to a destination, whether that's trading, whether that's creating a business, whatever it is, there's multiple legs to it, and you never know what's next around that corner. So I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into my journey in trading specifically, so that way maybe it gives you some insight of the things that I've studied, the things that worked well, maybe just my path in doing things, and just give you some insight to where I am now and where I started, because that path it's really different, and everybody's going to have a different path, and maybe you'll get to see some of the struggles and the problems and the detours that I took, and maybe it'll help you avoid those detours and things like that. So for me, if we look at everybody's time frame and the path that they move on, when we look at this as a timeline, I had a lot of different little missteps here and a lot of different areas that I went into and different things throughout my trading time frame. So all these little notches would be little areas or things I went into. So from the first time where I got this introduction into trading, so this was the intro of when my mom said, hey, why don't we try this thing? That's just a basic introduction. I didn't really know what I was doing. So then we started putting on and placing trades. So placing the trade here at this point for me was all about watching the news. It was all about seeing what other people say and putting on day trades. So it was all just day trading. I guess you could say we were looking for the fast money. It was the quick money. We didn't know what the stock would do the next day, so we're looking to day trade. We wanted to get in and out of position quick, because who knows what's going to happen the next day. It wasn't that I studied the charts that much. I didn't understand the charts. I didn't understand what would make that stock go up or down. So she would do a lot of the picking, but I'm still trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening behind the stock. So at the time, we're doing a lot of day trading, and we're placing trades. A lot of the stocks that we traded were the same types of stocks, meaning we became familiar with them. So there, I remember we traded AMD very heavily back when it was right around between $10 and about $20 per share. And, we'd buy it maybe on a down day and then sell it on an up day. So we'd hold it for 3 days sometimes for 5 days, even if we make $1 or 50 cents on that stock, so it's a couple $100 extra for you for groceries or whatever. So anyways, this was right around, my teenage years. So we're getting started right here, and we're doing day trading because we have no clue what we're doing. So later, as time ticks, we get into a little bit of bigger stocks. You could say we start getting more comfortable. And this was right around where things grew. Remember what the market's been doing how the market moves. I mean, it moves up, pulls back, and then continues higher. And if you know from my courses, we have the A to B, B to C, C to D pattern. And this was a multi-year leg that the market moved to the upside. And what happens in a bull market? Well, you could close your eyes, take a dart and throw it, and most of the things you get are going to be winners. So that's what happened. We were trading right here during this time frame, and I guess you could say we thought we knew better. So everybody's a winner in a bull market, just about. I mean, any stock that you buy in a bull market, in a heavy bull market, if you buy a stock, I mean, most of those, 90% of those stocks are going to go up. So everybody's a genius during those times. Now, so we started to go a little bit bigger, and we started to go a little bit larger into the positions, doing some trading. And at the time, my mom started to grow some of her own computer savviness. So she started to execute her own trades. And then right around this region or time frame, since my business grew, I deposited and started my own account. So this is where I started trading on my own. Now, of course, once you start trading on your own, you know you're going to want to do it even better. And especially for me, I'm a real educational junkie. What I wanted to do was really learn about what's going on, what's happening. So I did a lot of books. I studied and read a lot of books, DVDs, you could say VHS really at the time, because the DVDs came out slightly later. And most of these things I bought off of eBay. You know, back at the time or during this time, there was no YouTube at the time. So there's a lot of books, a lot of VHS, a lot of videos, and then DVDs started to come out. So I got some of those as well, and just started to learn as much as I could. And here during this time is really when I started to create my own portfolio, you could say. I started to really get in the business at the same time while I was doing graphic design and digital design. So you could say, okay, I'm looking at my investments, or I'm looking at my trades here about whatever, half hour or to an hour per day. And then I would also do graphic design throughout most of the day. So then when I went to college right here, I went into marketing, which was not very helpful for me personally. I learned a lot of the marketing and the skill sets that I now use and apply today from other seminars, VHS, books. I find them to be much more helpful. But when I went to college here, there was less time to focus on trading and investing. So I did do it a lot less, and I did do some studying from time to time on the trading. But for me personally, I wanted to get out of college as quick as possible, so I took about 20 to 24 credit hours per term. And if you've been to college or you know what that is, you're basically on a very accelerated path. And what I did was I really condensed it and compressed my learning, and I got my 4-year degree in 3 years and wrapped that up. And from then on, this is where I went more into selling my businesses and got more money. So once I got more money, I was able to trade larger. So this allowed me to play some of the bigger companies, buy more shares, trade more. Also, right around this same time frame, I got a little more interested in option trading. So, I mean, I heard about options right around, my early years. Probably I would say a few years later, after getting started in trading, I probably heard about options somewhere around here. But I didn't really apply it till later. I didn't really understand the concept. So right around here, after college, during college, right around that time, I got more and more into options. I started trading options, dabbled with 1 or 2 contracts, tried to figuring out, seeing what's going on, what's happening. And then, I mean, really, I didn't get more into options till much later, now doing a lot more spreads. But right here, right around this time, after I started getting to trade a little bit larger, I got a mentor and started looking at these social networks. I started to look at all these books that I read, all these VHSs, these different platforms, registering with them, getting and acquiring knowledge, because of course I had these funds that I earned and acquired through my other businesses. And that's really when things started to take off. That's really when I understood a lot more. I learned much more about technical analysis, putting all the puzzle pieces together, putting all of the volume, the price, the action, the behavior together. And this is really where things start to come together. Okay, so they start to really come together. You start putting the puzzle pieces together and start to understand what's going on and what's happening. And this is where I realized where the bigger money, and not just the bigger money, but also the more calm trading, the more relaxed trading is in swing trading. I've learned that this over the years seems to be a lot more peaceful for me. It's more calming, and it works for my personality. Day trading back here was all about attention and focus into the markets. It was all about buying that stock that day, selling it later, quick gains, quick money. I was chasing after the money. When you stop chasing something, it's really interesting how those dynamics work. It's kind of like when you like someone in grade school. It's like, oh, I really like this girl. I really hope she, likes me back. And, when you start chasing someone, it doesn't really work out that well. Instead, when you kind of play things off and say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm kind of interested, or, you kind of brush things off, eventually those things come to you anyway. So the more you chase something, the faster that other thing goes. It's kind of like chasing a rabbit or chasing a horse. The more that you chase after it, the quicker it's going to go, because it's, having that a fight or flight mechanism. It's trying to run away. So the same thing here. When we're chasing after the money on the day trades, I found that it didn't work for me. Does that mean it won't work for you? Absolutely not. There's plenty of successful day traders out there that do fantastic and do well. For me personally, I enjoyed swing trading after it registered in my mind that holding a stock for not just one day or 6.5 hours, but holding it for multiple days, holding it for weeks, this is where you really get that bigger money. This is where you get the bigger profits. So the swing trading is something I could relate to, and it gave me a lot more time freedom. I didn't have to focus on the screens as much, and this is what allowed me to also do a lot of books. It allowed me to write my own books. It allowed me to teach because I enjoyed teaching and connecting with people, similar to how I did it in the martial arts. So that's what allowed me to propel forward, and then I continue to learn and evolve because I'm an educational junkie. I love to learn, and that's what now continues to propel me to learn more about spreads and learn more about creating iron condors, calendars. And that's really where I'm at with my trading. That's really where I plan to focus on, is really the swing trading and also the option spreads. And that's my core as far as trading goes, and that's where I want to stick to. I don't really plan to trade Forex. That's not my thing. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't resonate for me. Nothing like in terms of the futures or the commodities. That's not what I'm looking at. For me, swing trading is my goal, and doing the spreads, and it's a nice even pace. It's a pace that I like, a pace that I can handle. It gives me the time freedom, whereas with day trading, I found it to be a little bit too quick for me and my taste. And will I do day trading from time to time? Absolutely. From time to time, yes, I'll do it, depending on market conditions, depending on the volatility, depending on what's going on and what's happening in my own personal life. But you got to be focused when you're day trading. You can't really leave to go to the bathroom if you're day trading. Swing trading, on the other hand, you can go out for lunch, you can make videos like these. It's more relaxed for me, and it works for my style and my personality. So if I really boil things down into this time frame and give you some insight to what is it that you can do to accelerate your path from getting started to that current state or to the future, is to look at these little areas that you're going to veer or move in this other direction from. So you're going to move into all these different areas and take these little side paths. It's kind of like if you're going from one destination to another, the quickest distance between your starting point and your finishing point is that straight line. And many people ask me, hey, well, shouldn't you get certified in trading? Shouldn't you have this certification? And for this, you need to take an exam. And then for the next stage, you need to do this X, Y, and Z. So it's similar to getting a job in graphic design or a job in any industry that you're looking to get to. For a digital design job or for photography is something I can relate to. I mean, yes, of course, they have certification packages and you could go to school, But as far as doing jobs, as far as doing the gigs, as far as making the completed projects and taking pictures at someone's wedding, one of the best ways was really to be an apprentice or an assistant. You know, for me, I didn't have that. I just went and got started with a camera, picked it up, did a few friends' weddings, and then continued to evolve that craft. So the quickest path right there was just to jump in and do it. If I had to go to school for 3 years to do photography and study it, yeah, of course, maybe it would make me a better photographer, but I'm moving away from the path of actually connecting to people. And I like to use the example of the same thing in terms of the medical school or the doctors. So I know and understand that some people may be against what I say here, but let's just pretend for a moment you're trying to become a doctor in a tribe, in a village, in a jungle. And one of the best ways to do that and become that is to mentor with the medicine man. It's to mentor with the other doctor. And then when you're 16, when you're 18, when you're 20, you know, and that other doctor passes away, now you become the doctor and you became an apprentice, but there was no exam that you had to go take. There was no specific schooling. You're mentoring with someone. So the quickest distance to become that doctor or that MD really in that tribe was to go to the mentorship, the apprentice, and learn with that other person. Now, of course, in society these days, due to lawsuits, due to a lot of government practices, so that way the government doesn't have problems and, you know, malpractice things that happen, because a lot of people are out there to make a quick buck. So in order to regulate that industry, so we don't have chaos in society, there's a lot of now exams, there's a lot of standards. And the same thing goes now in trading, the same thing goes now even in basic graphic design. There's people that want some certifications. Now I find that certain certifications, now when you go into certain degrees, they're just looking for online certifications, or they're looking for just a basic knowledge and understanding, or may give you an understanding and knowledge test, or to see what is it that you can actually do rather than, you know, ask for your degree. And that is just because things are moving much more rapidly in society and a lot slower in the educational systems. But to long story short, you're trying to really, if you're trying to get started over here and go all the way to this point here, the quickest distance is a straight line, is that mentorship program. If you can shadow someone and find out how you can cut out all this little excess. So if you can cut these little points out and not do them, you can get to your end destination faster. So for you, figure out that path. What is it that you need to get to where you want to be? If this is where you want to get to, if this is your end destination, figure out that distance, that path as quick as possible, because if you're writing an ebook and you want to write a book and you're trying to get over here to get to this book area, you know, some people, they may say, well, I need to go get a college degree in writing, and then I need to talk to a publisher, and then I need to get an editor, and then a graphic designer. And you start going through all these different areas and then maybe saying, oh, well, maybe I'll do blog writing. And to get to that end book, when in fact, in reality, if you just open up Microsoft Word, start typing, and then go through the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, upload it to Amazon, and they take care of all that for you. It makes things easier. It's a direct path. So what is your direct path, and how quickly can you get there when it comes to your trading? The quicker you can do that and cut out all these additional things, a lot quicker you'll get to your end destination. And I'm not saying all these other things won't be helpful. So if you jump around and did day trading, if you jump around and do an exam, if you're trying to become a doctor, you know, of course in a tribe it's not going to help you, but if you jump around, there's just a lot of additional things that you'll do that you might not have to do. So all I'm trying to say is that look at your distance, and the quickest distance between these 2 points is a straight line. And the straighter you can go, instead of moving in different paths and getting away from that line, the less time you'll waste, the less money you'll waste, and the less energy you'll waste. It'll be more direct, and you'll really hit it to where you want to get to. Thanks for sticking with me and listening to my story. Start looking at things in multiple ways and perspectives. Look at all the different tiers and levels that you have personally in your own life and those experiences. Some people you'll be able to relate to, and if those are the right people, then follow them and listen to them and continue moving forward. But the straightest path that you can take to get to your end goal, to get to your end destination, that is the path you want to take. And if someone tells you to go to this direction or go in that direction, and it's not right for you, then move on to the next person. The same thing with me. If some of the things that I say that you can't resonate with or you can't relate to, maybe they just don't make sense, there's plenty of other people out there. There's plenty of other people that maybe you can relate to. If you can't relate to someone, including myself, then move on to the next thing and continue moving forward. My goal for you is just for you to progress forward in the direction that you want to progress in. And the quickest way that you can do that is in a straight line. And if someone's telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you don't want to do that, that doesn't mean you can't get to that end destination by taking another path or approach. So hopefully this video gave you some light, gave you some insight. Start looking at the bigger picture. Everybody's path is differently. And just because you're moving in a different path than someone else, don't let it clutter your judgment. Don't let it clutter your goal. Continue to focus forward. Just like a horse with those blinders on, continue to move forward and hone in on your target that you want to go to and continue moving step by step. I want to thank you for joining me in this video, and if you like this video and you want to see other videos like this one, go ahead and click this button right here, and when you click that button, enter your name and email address on that page, and that way you can get the newsletter as I release new trainings, new courses, or new products or private training sessions. And if you want to see some of the courses and products that I have available, then click the button below this video and you can get taken right away to that products and courses page. Remember, in the end, that there's more to life than just financial gains. Go out, do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you in the next video.